I think of as movement. Transition, I think of as a transformation. So progressive lenses, the lens is changing as you're moving down. So there's movement, far away vision to close vision. Whereas transition, you're going from light to dark. I do not have transition lenses. I only have progressive lenses. Um, so I can see far away stuff, right? When I look through the top, I can see close up stuff when I look through the bottom. Computer screens are in a sweet spot where I can't see them hardly at all when I'm wearing these, which is incredible because the reason I got them was to be able to read things better at work.
Got progressive lenses from my eye doctor I've had them the last couple times I had an eye doctor appointment. But when I was there, and I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that one of the things that I wanted to focus on was making sure that I can read the computer monitor.
Yep.
They offered to hook me up with a pair of computer lenses that are not progressive lenses, but are a special prescription, a single prescription specifically for the computer.
But then you'd
And
have to take them off whenever you're doing something else, right?
yeah, exactly. You put them on when you sit down at your computer, or you switch your glasses when you sit down at your computer,
Yeah.
and then you switch your glasses back like when you go home. I would have to probably make the determination on like if I wanted to keep them at work or at home because I feel like I use the computer all the time when I'm at home.
Yep.
But yeah, it is a thing that at least my eye doctor is offering, and I'm sure
Yeah, I
if
mean,
you
I
talk
have,
to yours, they will say the same thing.
but they weren't free, right? You had to buy them
Oh
also.
no, it's a whole new pair of glasses,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. See, I can use.
because I'm buying mine from my eye doctor and not from like Zenny or anything, because I don't know what the actual prescription will be. I'm gonna have to pay a lot for them because American
Yeah.
insurance means I don't have vision insurance.
So I have vision insurance, so that really helps. I have a pair of these glasses, and I have a pair of reading glasses. And this is the thing: is I used to get by just fine with reading glasses, but I didn't like having to put them on whenever I used the computer or read a book. I said I just want one pair of glasses I wear the entire time. And they were like, well, you can do that. You have progressive lenses, so you can read stuff, you can see far away, you never have to take your glasses off. And I didn't expect that it would require me to only see half of what I normally see without my glasses. That was the thing that really
I
got
mean,
me.
it's a trade off. We're getting older and our eyes are getting worse, and we're
Yeah.
spending more and more in our lives in front of monitors. And so that just, I think, exacerbates the
Yep.
decay of our vision. I'm with you,
Hey,
pal. I'm in the same boat.
I'm gonna take time out at the very beginning to do something visual that our friends who are only listening to the podcast are not going to be able to see. Maybe we can put screenshot in the show notes or whatever. I don't know. Or I could send you a picture of me wearing at least one of the things I'm going to mention. But Ben, let me
Paul,
ask you a question. This is not Ben going to guess the news. This is a new segment, Ben. New segment. We've got two segments now, at least. Ben gonna guess the history. Are you ready for Ben gonna guess the history?
sure.
Ben, what is a whoopee cap?
A whoopee cap?
Yes.
It
Ben, what is a whoopee cap?
is a whoopee cap a hat that has a whoopee cushion about it
Ooh.
somehow?
Okay, you've got half of it.
Is it the hat part or the whoopee cushion part?
The hat part. It's a type of hat.
Is a hat a propeller hat?
Ooh,
Like a propeller
no.
beanie?
No, but it is possibly a beanie of sorts. I'm gonna say, all right, so this is history, right? I'm gonna say this hat was made famous by one iconic character. at least. So much so that another name for a whoopee cap is a blank hat, where blank is the character's name.
Is this a wholly fictitious character, or is this like a silent movie actor?
Okay, now this is very interesting. It is a fictitious character, all right, not an actor. So the name comes from the character name. The character has been seen in a variety of visual mediums, even up until the present day.
A something cap.
Something hat. It's a whoopee
hat.
cap, but a whoopee cap is also called a blank hat, where blank is the character's name.
Character hat.
Yeah.
And is it called that just because people don't know whoopee cap?
People don't know whoopee cap, but this character embodied this hat so much, or vice versa, whatever this hat is so the hat predates this character, but this character is so tied to this hat that any modern day person would call it this type of hat, instead of a whoopee cap. I had to learn the term whoopee cap in order to figure out what kind of hat to call this.
Are we playing this game because you actually have one now and you want to show it off?
I have two of them, and I want to show them off.
Two of them. All right. I don't want to spend too long on this because I have no idea what it is. So I'm just going to... I know it's not a couple of obvious choices because those actual hats have different names. Yeah, I have no idea.
Okay. I'm going to give you a couple of hints because I love it when you guess things. One, this character began as a secondary character in someone else's property, but then eventually got his own property as well in the original medium, and then appeared in the adaptation of that medium that was newsworthy during the modern day, the present day, like within the last 5 years.
A character that was a secondary character originally. You're not going to tell me in what kind of medium.
Not yet, but I will. But that medium got translated into another medium just recently.
So
before it was, yeah. And these characters have been with us our entire lives, at least. They were introduced before we were born, and we would see them in this.
I want to say that these are like newspaper comic strip characters.
Ooh, comic strip characters. Ben, let me ask you a question. What comics did you used to collect when you were a kid?
I didn't collect comics when I was a kid.
Did you have any comics when you were a kid?
I had like a couple of Batmans.
Okay. So these characters appeared both in comic books and in newspapers. Ubiquitous. You would see them even in the supermarket checkout line.
You would see them even in the supermarket checkout line with their own, originally as a secondary character in primary character's own comic named after that primary character.
Yes.
Is it Archie?
That's right. It is Archie. Ben,
is it a Jughead cap?
It is Jughead. Yes.
All right.
A Jughead hat.
Hey, I got it.
It was
I'd never heard
a whoopee cap.
I'd never heard of either of those phrases.
Okay. So I was looking to buy a Jughead hat. And of course, all the Jughead hats that I could find were of Jughead in Riverdale. which is a different type of Jughead hat. He wore like kind of a beanie, right?
Never watched
Like
Riverdale.
a
Didn't even know it was an Archie project.
Oh, I didn't know about Riverdale as far as Jughead's hat in Riverdale until I was looking for the old Jughead hat.
Yeah.
And I learned eventually that it was called a whoopee cap after a bunch of searching. And I also learned, and get this, Ben, those hats, the reason you can't buy them is because they aren't normally bought like that. They're created by taking another hat and cutting the brim in that crown shape.
Yeah. So if anybody doesn't know what a Jughead hat is, it just looks like a beanie with a crown around the edge.
But it turns out, and this is why I wanted to know if you knew what a whoopee cap is, because there were many forms of whoopee caps, sometimes by using a fedora, for example. So this is my first whoopee cap. I have to take my headphones off because it won't fit over my headphones. So I'm going to keep talking, but I won't be able to hear you. All right, so this is the first one. And what I did was I took like an alpine cap that a German person might wear. It's green. It has a little feather in it, but I cut the crown shape out of it, and it fits pretty well. And then the other thing is that they were shoved further onto the head, so they might have been smaller, right? But you can actually tuck your ears in, shove them down. So this is my first one that I made. This is a whoopee cap made from a sort of green alpine. Imagine the Ricola guys.
I have to tell him that his microphone sucks.
So I'm going to take it off, put the headphones back on for a second.
All right, so
Ben,
the next time, Paul, the next time you take your headphones off, keep them close by because the microphone on the headphones is what I'm hearing and I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. That sounds great.
Don't put them down, just like hold them in front of you.
Did you see it though? Did you see the hat?
Yes. Yeah, I saw the hat.
The people at home will already know this, but I'll tell you, this is like an alpine hat cap, like a Ricola kind of cap that I cut into those shapes. So this next one, I think you're going to be a little bit more impressed. You seemed okay, Paul. That's a thing that you did. That was the look I saw on your face when I did. But just hold on to your hat. All right, here we are. Okay, so this one is a top hat that I've cut into the shape. And if you can see this, Jason Webley used to do this thing in Seattle called Camp Tomato, and I tied the bandana from Camp Tomato onto this whoopee cap to give it a little bit more of a fun sort of festive feel to it. So this is my second whoopee cap, even though I made this one first. But it seems like this is more the green one, which I'm going to show here. This is more of your everyday whoopee cap that you would wear like normally, whereas this is more for formal occasions and art projects.
Whoopee cap.
The formal whoopee cap. Yep, indeed. So there you go, Ben. My two hats that I've made. And what I've done is I've transformed hats that I don't normally wear into hats that I still won't normally wear, but are more interesting.
But now you can't get rid of them. You can't like donate them or anything because you've modified them.
I could donate those. I mean, come on. Somebody's going to have a crazy day. No. You put those in Goodwill, they're going to be like, what kind of hat is this? This is crazy.
This is
$500.
This hat has been vandalized. We can't sell this.
See, Ben, I would say that these hats have been artistically adapted to. I mean, I love them. I love these hats. They're really
that's great. You can love them.
I'm sorry. For those of you at home, Ben got me with that because Ben and I both have a love of certain comedians and this is the thing is that and Ben, I think you'll back me up on this. We don't necessarily even know the comedians, but there are some mathematical formulas to jokes
Yeah.
that we have adapted into our own oeuvre, if you will. And one of them is, I think it's pretty smart. Well, I know you think it's smart. And then that's it.
Yeah.
That's the end. Oh, speaking of which, Ben.
Which
Uh,
Ben?
oh no, you're lost my spells. No. So here's the thing. Steamed hams. The Simpsons. Uh, it's like short films about Springfield. There's one called Steamed Hams where Principal Skinner uh has the superintendent come over because he's going to cook him food, but his roast gets burnt. So he goes to Krusty Burger and grabs some hamburgers and tries to pass them off as his own cooking. Um, but the superintendent doesn't really buy it. But he he works through it like it's still plausible, even though Skinner is like his kitchen's on fire and he says that it's the Aurora Borealis and things like that. And eventually, Chalmers says, "Well, oh, and this is the thing: is that there's smoke coming out of the oven, and he tells anyone who's seen this is going to be like, Paul, you're telling this way too wrong.
Is
Smoke coming." Oh,
is
sorry.
this a recent episode of The Simpsons, or is this like
Uh,
classic
it's
Simpsons? I
I'm
haven't seen
gonna.
this episode.
I think it's more recent. I'll say that it's more recent.
And by
'Cause
recent Simpsons, we can say like within the last 20 years.
yeah. It's recent. It's recent. And so, but the thing is that the reason it's called steamed hams is because when Chalmers comes in and the roast is burning, he says, "Why is there smoke coming out of your oven?" And he says, "Well, it's not smoke. It's steam from the steamed clams that we're having." And then when he comes back with the Krusty Burgers, he says, "I thought we were having steamed clams." And he says, "No, I said steamed hams." So that's where it came from.
Right.
All of his lies are bad and lame, and yet somehow Chalmers still believes him. That's sort of the take of it. But what happened with steamed clams, and anyone who already knows about this is gonna feel a little crazy because this is a meme that has already passed. It's already done. I'm obsessed with it now because I never knew about it.
Is
But
it
everybody
not
else
the
is
kids who are wrong meme?
no.
Okay.
So what people have done is they've taken this short Simpsons clip, steamed hams, and they've changed it multiple times through editing. So one of the ones that I saw was it's steamed hams, but every time it's a split screen, right? It's the two scenes side by side. In one of them, every time that Skinner speaks, it's at 50%. It's slowed down 50%. And then the other one, anytime the superintendent speaks, it's slowed down 50%. So these two things are moving, and the time is all screwed up because one of them's going super slow, one of them's going super fast. There's another one where the video plays forward, but their dialogue is reversed. So it's sort of like the Red Room in Twin Peaks, except it's the lines that they're actually saying. There's another one that anytime Skinner lies, the video restarts, but is 25 times faster, and so it just starts going super super fast, so on and so forth. Like there are hundreds of these variations that people have made, and I'm obsessed with it now, and I keep on watching all the different ones. But again, this is something that has come and gone. No one is interested in it anymore. And so the fact that I now like it and am really obsessed with it, I'm a man without a country, Ben. There's no one. The only person who vaguely knows about this and is interested in it enough to listen to me talk about it is Betty. She experienced it when it was happening.
Yeah.
And so for her, it's a memory.
Dad, that is so old.
Exactly. That's right.
Hey, Betty's birthday was on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I had
17.
17.
17-year-old Betty.
Betty have a good birthday?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. She seemed to like it. Went to um, went to Edison's, which is a like a bowling alley kind of, but there are also games.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things is that when you um have your birthday at Edison's, right? You can play all the carnival games you want for free. You have a little card and you can play all the carnival games. Now,
Nice.
thinking about economics, Ben, what is the one thing about, like, think of your Showbiz pizzas, your Chuck E. Cheese's and all that. Economy wise, what must happen if you can play any carnival game for free?
What must happen if you can? Well,
Yeah, economy wise for the thing that has this as the birthday.
they lose out on a few dollars of video game token sales, but
Right.
they make up for it because the birthday kid brings all their friends who still have to pay.
Exactly. But well also that you also get cards for the other kids as well.
Oh, the
Um
entire birthday
y-
party gets to play for
yep.
free? Oh, okay.
Which
Well, that makes
means
it. That's a big difference.
if they can play for free, what does that mean about when they win one of these carnival games? If everyone's playing for free, no one's paying for tokens. What happens when they win?
Do they still get the prizes?
They don't get any prizes. No tickets come out. So you're just playing these carnival games, and I don't know about
I
you,
mean,
but
I mean, like when we were kids,
yep,
prizes from games wasn't really a thing. Like, I remember going to the Chuck E. Cheese. I don't ever remember collecting tickets. It was the playing
oh,
of the game that was the point.
that's incredible. Where I grew up, there were tickets, and that's why you played. And the thing is that it's like paying the iron price in Game of Thrones. If you have a little parachute guy that you throw up and then the parachute guy falls down and floats down, that's a cheap prize. That's not fun. But if you got 50 tickets and bought that little guy, it meant something more.
Yeah.
And
That's why Rick Miller says you should never give away your CD because people don't value it as much as if you make them pay for it, even
yeah,
like $5.
I will say this. One of the people that you and I know who has a good head for business told me at one point in time, because I was selling a book of mine for $5 and said, that's too low. You have to sell it at a higher price. That way people will value it.
Yeah.
So I put another book that I was selling at a higher price. Nobody bought it.
Yeah.
Whereas
That's
the book that I had for $5, people kept buying it.
that's
So
the
I was like,
trade-off.
all right, yeah. But here's the thing: he was using business acumen, and I was using improv ticket sales acumen.
You're like, I just
People
want people to read it. I just want to get it into people's homes.
exactly, and the idea of for improv, right? You want a big crowd, and it's better to have a big rowdy crowd of people who pay $2 to get in than to sell your tickets for $15 and have half of a house. That's kind of how I think about it with my books as well.
Yeah.
I would rather five people buy it for $5 than one person buy it for 25.
I mean, it's an interesting correlation between that and giving away comp tickets to theater. Do you feel that if somebody goes to see a play for free, that they value it less than somebody who pays full price for their ticket?
See, this is my thing. I'm thinking that, think about it this way, right? If you get a comp to a ticket, I mean, if you get a comp to a ticket, hey, no, if you get a comp ticket to a theater thing, normally somebody in the production or you're another theater person, right?
Yeah.
I think that your buy-in is already there, right? This is the thing. Improv shop here in my area. I liked the improv shop. I stopped taking classes from them, not because I didn't like them, but because I got a new job and it conflicted, right? Or not a new job. I got new responsibilities with my job. Let's just say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
And I'll
yeah,
talk to you more about it after the
yeah.
show.
Oh, another update.
But the big thing with that is that you know, I got in to see the show for free because if you were a student there, you would get in for free, right? But because of that, your entire improv audience was filled with improv students, people who knew, you know,
Yeah.
they knew what to expect and they loved it and they got to see their friends do it and all that sort of thing. So it worked out really well. Um, so that's the thing is that I do understand the idea, and especially with music, it's a different thing, right? You think about music and the people who are really into it, you think about indie record stores. You and I, when we were growing up, if somebody worked at an indie record store, they were a certain type of person.
Yeah.
And they would absolutely not value a free CD more than a Japanese import that costs $38 or whatever, which is a lot in when we were growing up. $38 is still a lot, actually.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Cost aside, I see your point.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, I do not begrudge Rick's opinion. I think that it's a very good point. I also know that if you are only in it for the ego and you want people to like something, lots of times if you give it away for free, they'll be more appreciative and less critical, depending on how you present yourself.
Yeah, maybe.
Giraffe and Elephant are friends, right? Everybody loved that comic when it was a free web comic. When I tried to sell the Big Book of Giraffe and Elephant, a color book that costs $30 to print at the time that I was printing it, and I sold it for less than $30, it was still too expensive. People didn't want to pay for it,
I don't even
even though people
remember
loved
that
it.
happening.
Yeah, a Big Book of Giraffes and Elephants. Yeah, I think you can still actually get it on Amazon.
It didn't
It's just
conflict with your Disney book?
I own the characters and I can do what I want,
Oh,
apparently.
apparently.
And now
They
I'm
never
owned
stopped
by
me.
yeah. Now my book is owned by Little Brown instead of Disney, which is interesting. Um,
Huh.
and yeah, this is one of the things that you know, and I know that we've already kind of came and went with this, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Digital art. Whenever people were complaining about it and talking about it and all that kind of stuff, and about how they, you know, they're not going to own their thing and people are going to steal it, all of that kind of stuff. The amount of crazy legal stuff you have to go through when you're selling your artwork and story as a children's author through a big publisher is kind of crazy, right? Because you have to tell them, this is mine, and if it's not mine and I get sued because I took it from somebody else, you don't have to, you don't get sued. I'm the only one that gets sued, like all this stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The trade-off is, at least for me, you have the rights for a whole bunch of stuff. Like if there was ever a Giraffe and Elephants TV show, right? I would have the rights to that. Disney wouldn't have the rights to it, that sort of thing, which is pretty good. Um, but again, this is another thing. When I was at the reality show, right? There are pictures of me that they have perpetual licenses for, so that they can use it on you know, their TV show and all that. And the contract actually has language like um, forever throughout the universe, like that. And I'm
This
serious.
contract does
That
not
language,
expire.
right?
There are
Exactly.
no limitations to how much we own this. I own it, I control it.
Which is really interesting. And again, you know, I'll make a note about this one more time. People who right now are using AI programs are providing uh, content, right? They are generating information for those AI systems for free, and sometimes they're actually paying for the you know, all the stuff about, hey, click
Yeah.
here for what are traffic lights. You know how
Yeah.
we that was all free labor that we provided. Um, Click here if you like this picture. Oh my gosh, Ben. Right? Rank all these pictures of what you like and what you don't like.
That sounds
Um,
like work.
it is work, so much so. And I was fine with it when I was doing it. I would do it again. I still have some of those pictures on my phone that the AI artist generated, and I thought it was really great. You know, there's some cool stuff there.
Do you
But
know if all those old G&E comics survive anywhere online? I know something happened with KMO's server. I think that took
I
them
had
when
them
there
on.
was
I had some of them on Flickr for a while. I don't know. They might still be floating out there. This is actually kind of interesting. When I was doing the GOG comic strip for the University of Missouri at Columbia, I would never really save my originals. I'd like leave them on the printer or throw them out or whatever. And the people were really, all the other artists were like, "What are you doing? This is your original stuff. You should save it and catalog it and all that." And
yeah.
I'll tell you, Ben, if it weren't for you and your, history of GudeLaurance that we had, I wouldn't. People would say, "What did you guys do?" And I'd be like, "I don't know. It's over. I'm not doing it
Right.
anymore."
It's theater. It's ephemeral. If you weren't there to witness it, too bad.
Yeah, but I really do love the fact that you do keep those records, and
Because
it's kind
I
of
am
cool. But
the exact opposite of you. I am a collector.
I believe that G&E is floating out there in the ether, probably throughout eternity. Oh, shoot! In fact, this is really interesting. We, and when I say we, I mean me. I saw a clip of Carl Sagan talking about the fact that our TV shows are in space and will be forever. That
Ones that were
that
broadcast, yeah.
the ones that are broadcast now are currently, let's see, like probably 80 light years. Some things are 80 light years away from Earth right now. I wonder how
Like
far 80 light years is.
it's 80 light years. That's a distance.
Well, yeah, yeah, but I mean, like relative to how far the moon is from us, for example.
Oh, it's far outside of our solar system at the very least. I
Yeah,
don't know how far. I don't think it's outside of the galaxy.
yeah, but outside of I do still think
Not
that
outside of the observable universe.
I feel like the United States and Earth in general, like all of Earth, probably, are considered by aliens to be like uncontacted tribes. The same sort of thing. And UFOs for us are very similar. We saw them when they come, we get like freaked out. And we know that there's something, but we don't really understand what they are,
Well, that's big
right?
news today. I mean, you heard about the Chinese spy balloon, yeah?
Yes, I heard about the Chinese
Well,
spy balloon. This is like
and
a week
since
ago.
something a little bit more than a week ago, I guess,
Yeah, yeah.
from now.
Well,
But like since then, the U.S. have shot down 3 more unidentified objects
yep.
that
I
the
heard
U.S.
about
have
that
said
also.
are not balloons nor Chinese in nature.
Not Chinese in nature. Ben, I'm about to tell you a story of something that happened. Um, I believe. Okay, so you remember where I lived in Mount Baker or near Mount Baker? You remember that area, right?
Yeah, the last house you lived in, yeah?
Yeah. So there was it in the what's the other place? It's Mount Baker and what? What's the other area that's right near there? There are
Columbia
two.
City?
No, no. When I say it, you're gonna be like, "Oh, Paul, come on." Um, there were two areas. There was Mount Baker, and then there was the other stop. There was another stop right near Mount Baker on the light rail. Um,
Beacon Hill.
Beacon Hill. There we go. Thank you so much. So Beacon Hill had Red Apple, and Mount Baker had QFC. And for the sake of um, this story, I was going to say I don't remember which it is, but as I'm saying it out loud, it was Red Apple.
All right.
I
I've
was
been to
in
that Red
Red
Apple.
Apple.
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
I was in Red Apple, and there were these young, stylish Asian men who were in line in front of me. And the checkout person, who I'm hoping doesn't work there anymore, but if they do, I'm not going to say anything that, um, identifies her. A young white woman, uh, checking them out. And these guys are like, they got jackets on and sunglasses and all sorts of, looked like models of
They
some
put
type.
effort into their appearance, is what you're saying.
Put effort into their appearance. And she said, "Where are you guys from?" to them.
Yeah.
And one of them says, "We're Chinese." At which point in time, the checkout person says, and I quote, "Oh, wow, you can't even tell."
What?
And for the life of me, I don't know what she meant by that.
I were they wearing sunglasses and
Well, they
masks?
were,
What?
again, sunglasses, lots of, no, this was, like just they were going grocery shopping, but they were stylish.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can think of is that she maybe thought that people in China didn't wear nice clothes, something to that effect. I don't know.
Who knows what she thought?
But the point is that she could have stopped at, "Oh, wow," which would be
Yeah.
like, the only thing because this is my thought, like because I examine it every once in a while because it's something that is confusing to me because that we have racism in this country, but that's a weird sort of racism. You can't even tell that you're from China. What does that mean? So my
It's
thought about it is
yeah.
that she said, "Where are you from?" Meaning, you know, where are you from? Like, are you guys
Beacon
from?
Hill, First Hill,
Oh,
Mount
not even
Baker,
that.
Columbia
That's a
City.
that's a totally different idea. I like it. My thought is, where are you guys from? Are you from Sub Pop? Are you from, like
uh
where do you guys work? What do you are you from a magazine? Like
yeah.
you don't seem like the normal people who would be shopping here. I think that's what
You don't look like
I
locals.
giving her the benefit of the doubt. I think that's what she was going for, and she was trying to find out, where they were from. Like, are you here shooting a movie, whatever. And when she got the information that they were from China, something broke in her brain to where she thought, this is a compliment. I will tell them that you can't tell that they're from China.
I don't
That it still doesn't work though.
I don't know what leads to that, even if you're like sort of like in panicky mode because you've been called out on something.
Yeah,
The like I do know that Asian Americans have a thing about Americans, not just Asian Americans, all Asians,
yeah,
regardless of their, where they were from, have a thing about Americans asking them where they're from. That
right.
is
It
a
is not.
total
It is
thing.
not um, appreciated at
Right.
all, especially
At
if they
all.
are now the people here. I mean, I believe that they were from, like when she said, "Where are you from?" and they said, "We're Chinese." I think it is possible that they were visiting from China, like because being asked where they were from and saying that, I feel like even at that time in, like, the early 2000s, if she says, "Where are you from?" and they say, they would, I think, say, "We're from here. What do you mean?" Something like that. So I
Yeah.
think that they may actually have not been local. But here's the thing. Um, if I'm going to, and Is this good use of the podcast time? Maybe not. But if I'm going to delve a little bit deeper, it is possible that the woman asking this, it was sort of, an otaku, if you will, fetish, fetishizing Japanese culture. And when she said, "Where are you from?" she was expecting that they would say that they were from somewhere in Japan, and then she could do that. And when they said, "We're Chinese," and she said, "Wow, you can't even tell," what she meant by that was that she thought that they were from Japan
Yeah.
and somehow thought that they were masquerading as Japanese people because of some weird thing that she had in her head. Anyway, none of this is interesting to anyone but me, possibly.
Anyway, so
Whoopee caps, Ben. This is
I,
what I'm. Yeah,
I, I was gonna like post about this on Facebook, but I'm friends with this person on Facebook, and I don't want to start a thing, but I do have to get this off my chest.
yeah,
I have an acquaintance. Like they're an old coworker. Like it's not like we were like friends when we were coworkers, but
yeah.
now they are very.
Not to name who this person is, but is this the job that you had when I first met you?
No.
That coworker,
No.
previous or after?
After that.
Okay.
But in their posts, they're very anti-vaccine, very anti-mask, and
Yeah.
vocal. You can kind of see where this is going, and very vocal about like people who still wear masks are stupid and sheeple, and very much
Ugh.
that person. Today, it just posted that their son now has COVID. And I have absolutely no sympathy for her. I have all the
Yeah.
sympathy for her son, who
Yep.
has to have her. I was trying to keep it gender free, but who has to have her as a mom. But
Wait.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
like,
okay. Yeah.
it's just you're familiar with the subreddit Herman Cain Award, where they show people who are very anti-vax who then who then pass away because of COVID, which is what
I don't
Herman
think I
Cain did.
remembered Herman Cain dying from
Yeah,
COVID.
yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
I remember that.
Herman Cain died like shortly after a Trump rally or a Republican convention or something. After like boasting
For
about
those
on
of
Twitter
you
saying that he
listening,
wasn't going to wear a mask at all.
for those of you listening in the future, Herman Cain was a presidential candidate for the United States. A doctor of some kind, perhaps a
A
surgeon.
brain surgeon.
A brain
Very
surgeon.
famously a brain surgeon.
Something
Who
about being stabbed in his belt.
Who always what?
Like he got attacked by someone, or either he stabbed someone or someone stabbed him. There was some sort of rumor about
I don't remember
that
that
in
little
his youth.
subplot. But Herman Cain
I think he got stabbed and his belt stopped it. Something like that.
He came off publicly as sort of aloof and disorganized, and you're like,
Yes.
this dude was a brain surgeon?
Yeah.
Anyway, he boasted about not getting the vaccine, not wearing a mask, and then he died after contracting COVID. And so
Thus, Herman Cain Award.
thus the Herman Cain Award.
Now, I will tell you something about this that I don't know what Seattle is like right now, but I have had my vaccines. I've had my boosters. I'm up to date with my boosters. No one in my town wears masks except for a few people now. Like you'll see one or two. And I often I carry mine with me and I'll put it on if someone's wearing one around me, but I don't remember it like I obsessively used to. Right? Like I have to see someone wearing it to remember to put mine on. And it's simply because in the place where I live, everyone just decided that it was over.
It's weird. I actually flew through Chicago a couple weeks ago, and I was amazed at how few people were wearing masks. Like, I consider Chicago to be a fairly progressive town, and nobody
tourists to Chicago from places where I live, for example, would be one reason. Maybe Chicago's over it too, but if I go on public transportation or if I'm in a large group of people, the one thing I guess the biggest thing that I went to that I didn't have any mask on and no one else did except for one of the performers, it was Betty's band concert. Everybody, room full of students and parents, nobody wearing
Yeah.
masks.
Yeah.
Um, as I say it out loud, and I remember, where I was at, not even a few months ago, I would have been afraid to be in that situation. I guess now it feels, the only way I can say it is it feels like relativity. The fact that I would be in any situation I'm going to, if I was wearing a mask, I'd be the only one wearing it. And I think it was also my beard. When my beard got long, it would poke out of the bottom, and I thought that was weird. Now that I've actually shaved, I still always have one on me. So maybe I'll start wearing it again.
That's smart. I mean, I hear that every time there's a new variant, it's like it's the most deadly, whatever, or the most transmissible. But yeah, apparently there's a new variant out there. I don't remember what the letters are, like XB or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like super transmissible, and nobody's taking it seriously anymore because trains are exploding and we're shooting UFOs out of the sky. Why do we even bother with COVID anymore?
I saw a news article that said that the government had purchased like 1.5 million new doses or something to that effect. Yeah,
the newest vaccine.
Yeah. So that tells me that at least some people are paying attention.
1.5
But
million.
it's good
That's
that you.
hardly anything.
Well, I don't know. It might have been more than that. I just remember the number 1.5,
Yeah.
and I know it was more than that. More than 1.5, vaccines.
1.6.
So I put million on there. Yeah. Hey, by the way, did you ever see 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown?
I have never seen a complete episode, but I have seen clips of many episodes.
Do you know the story behind it?
There's a British show called Countdown where people take numbers and try to come up with. People take randomly generated numbers and come up with a subtotal, a given subtotal, or as close as they can get.
Yeah. And they can add, subtract, multiply, and divide. And then the other thing is
create a math problem to come up with this given subtotal.
And then they also get random letters and have to make words out of them. And so those are the two.
And 8 out of 10 Cats was another panel show. I believe it was hosted by Jimmy Carr, and then they kind of combined the two.
Yeah. And then they smashed the two of them up, and it is great. It is something that I kind of love watching because it's got all my little bits in it. I like moving letters around in my head, and I like trying to do math stuff. But they're better than me. One of the things is that they use scratch paper, and I don't. Scratch paper doesn't help me in a lot of these things, anagrams and stuff like that, because I kind of like move them around in my brain instead, and I can find eventually I'll just see it. Right, I'll see. Oh, this is the word, But the math is more difficult for me.
Do you play the New York Times spelling bee?
I don't do any New York Times stuff.
Sounds like it would be right up your alley if you're.
What is it?
Anagrams. It's an anagram word generator. So you have one letter in the middle that you have to use in every word, and then you have, I think it's 8 words around it, or 8 letters around it, 8 like, seemingly random letters, and you have to find words using the letters. You don't have to use all the letters. I think you can even use a letter twice, like a double M, but and like once you get like a certain number, you become a queen bee, and then if you get all the words, I don't think it's an app. I think you just play on their website, but
but it's computer.
People play it on their phone.
Okay.
So anyway, check it out if you get bored. It sounds like it's right be right up your alley.
Yeah, the thing that I worry about is stuff like that. I can get sucked into it. Whereas 8 out of 10 Cats does Countdown. I can also get sucked into that, but I'm also watching comedians, so it's I can be I can I still pretend like I do comedy, Ben, even though I haven't since I moved here.
I've
I
gotten
still have that brain,
I've
I
gotten
think.
sucked into the TV show The Night Manager. Have you seen this?
Oh, The Night Manager. I haven't seen it, but I know about it. Hugh
Tom
Laurie plays
Hiddleston and Hugh Laurie.
a bad guy
Yeah, he's the bad
that
guy
Tom
in it.
Hiddleston has to kind of.
Yeah, it's a limited series. There's only 6 episodes in one season. That's all. It's because it's based on a book.
Yeah.
And unlike other TV shows based on books, they stopped when the book ended.
Yeah.
But
Do you
actually,
remember?
I had this conversation with somebody the other day where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm watching it. It's based on a John le Carré novel, and he's like, oh, do you mean John le Carré? I'm like, John le Carré? I thought it was John le Carré. He's like, no, it's John le Carré. I'm like, all right, whatever. I later looked it up. I was right. It's pronounced John le Carré. He's not even French. He's a British guy, and that's
So
his
the
nom
other
de
thing,
plume.
obviously, Hot Skull. If you want to talk about limited series based on books, it's Turkish. If you are okay with watching with subtitles, I recommend it highly.
I
But
watch
then
English programs with subtitles.
oh, me too, all the time. It really helps. Uh, Basically, whenever after Betty was born, um, I've always watched those subtitles because there's always ambient noise around.
Yeah.
And when I say ambient noise, I mean like shouting, loud talking, that sort of thing.
People
So
who
the
don't respect your TV watching.
Exactly. And really, in the grand scheme of things, my TV watching is never that important, even though it feels really important.
Right.
One thing that it's hard sometimes. People talk about this for married couples to find a show that both of them want to watch.
Yeah.
So for a while, like Jennifer was watching this 911 call center show that had a whole bunch of people in a 911 call center, and I would watch that even though it was never something I would watch by myself. In the same way, this is my confession, I did a horrible thing, and I realized it was a horrible thing. It was a horrible TV thing, but Jennifer started watching Wheel of Time on Amazon, and she left to go do something, and she came back, and I had started looking at other programs. I didn't have one that I wanted to watch. I was asking her, "Hey, would you want to watch this? Would you want to watch this?" Even though she'd already picked one out.
Yeah.
And that was wrong and just crazy of me. And I'm talking to you about it on the podcast, but I hope that she can't hear me because it may,
Drum up
dredge
some
up
old feelings.
that thing. Yeah. But it was wrong of me. So anyway, finding something that we both like. She watched Slow Horses with me, which I really recommend. It's on Apple TV.
Yeah, it's got
Gary Oldman.
Yeah, Gary Oldman. I've seen it on Apple TV, but I have not watched it.
Yeah, it's good. So we watched that, but now there's a show that both of us like at the same amount.
What?
We both like the show. It's called Physical 100.
Physical 100.
It's a Korean show where people compete in physical challenges to see who has the most perfect body.
Okay.
And they have torsos of themselves that were cast, right? Cast torsos made out of plaster. And when you leave the competition, you have to smash your own torso with a hammer. It's great. Wonderful show. So we have
Good
5
little
minutes left.
gimmick.
I want to tell you something. This is another confession of sorts.
This is my
I'm
confession.
doing something in my home campaign. One of my players is not going to be able to make it at the next session. And I had a thing planned, but the thing that was planned involves that character. and so I don't want to move forward with it. So instead, the characters are going to get a side mission where they try to solve a murder mystery that has happened in a hobbit village. The hobbit village's name is Hampton, Hamton, and someone has stolen all the pigs and all the food from the village, Ben. And you would be crazy to think that maybe in another universe, the exact same village exists with the same people named the same, except they're gnomes. I am
Oh,
recycling the adventure and running them
nice.
through it and see if they do it any differently than our fans. I was thinking I'm not using people's characters. I'm only using my characters that I created for it.
Yeah.
Because there's a special thing there. But yeah, they're all the gnomes are now halflings.
Are you gonna have the Annex player characters as sort of like NPCs in
No,
this?
that's the thing that I was saying when I said
Oh,
that.
they're not even going to be like be there and like give
They're not
advice or
going to
anything
be
like that.
NPCs or anything like that.
Gotcha.
It's an alternate universe where instead of those people, these characters show up, and
Gotcha.
and the town doesn't have heroes. I might have the equivalent of something happened to the. I don't know. I don't know how it's exactly going to work, but yeah, the player characters don't have doppelgangers in this world.
Gotcha.
Because I felt like I wanted to keep at least some things separate. And I miss those guys, those characters. And I would feel bad if I was running them without, like, maybe the people would like it, but on the off chance that they'd be like, hey, why did you kill my character? Even though it wasn't their character, I'm leaving that alone.
Well, if you missed them, there is 16 hours of content on YouTube with those characters.
No, I've already experienced it. I don't need to.
You don't need to go back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
nobody's
yeah.
blaming you.
Hey, speaking about which, is there more Annex game stuff happening? What's the latest?
The next thing that's going to happen as far as Annex streaming is concerned, on Sunday, March 5th, there's going to be another edition of Kaiju Battle Arena.
Nice. That's what I was hoping to plug.
Yeah, so Kaiju Battle Arena is going to be on Sunday, March 5th. I think at 6 p.m. Pacific. I might be getting that confused with my call time or the go time. I don't know, but it's so far away in the future, I am not even thinking about it. I know it exists as a thing, and I will think about it more as the time draws close.
Audience favorite Kaiju battle? People enjoying it, having fun?
Who knows? I mean, it's all streamed, and
It's on. So nobody's okay. So I guess again, this is one of those things where
there's the same sort of interaction where people can pay to affect the game.
Yeah, and I apologize. This is what I was talking about. People then are having live theater here, and shows and stuff.
Yeah,
That's where I was confused. So Annex does not have an audience for the Kaiju battle.
no, not a live audience.
I apologize for suggesting that there might be. When you had that blank look, I was like, oh wait, yeah. And then you said they're still streaming. I was like, that's right. It's like you're living in the past and I'm living in the Mad Max future. Like you're more healthy and careful. I'm the people who are eating rats and putting on
We're still trying to be reasonable here in the past.
Yeah. Exactly.
Haven't even cleaned up the theater. Look, we got a table up there that's got stuff on it. Got cameras right behind me just hanging out.
Yeah. So I will say this,
desk here.
Talking about cleaning up the place and all that, we've cleaned up on our obligation to our audience for an hour's worth of content. So
Good
Ben,
segue.
thank you so much. as always, love talking.
Yeah.
Did I mentioned to you that I was at this is something that happens in Illinois. There was an electronics store that had all sorts of weird, crazy electronics going out of business sale. There was a Segway that they were selling.
A real
And I almost,
a city-changing Segway.
yeah, I almost bought it, but they were like, yeah, the batteries don't work, and the buying batteries for it would be 10 times more than we're selling the Segway for. So I was like, oh, all right, never mind.
Then, yeah.
So
Why would you buy it unless you wanted to use it as an art piece?
exactly. And who knows? So maybe someone more, technically inclined than me had a battery for a Segway lying around and was like, I'm sure that person exists.
Maybe they
That's
just
the thing.
converted it to a plug-in. So
Exactly.
they can only segue as far as their longest extension cable.
I think before we end the episode, I want to talk about again a GudeLaurance bit that never happened, something that you and I used to talk about, but we never really pulled the trigger on. Shovel fight, of course, being number one, I think. But one of the other ones was band connection. Do you remember this?
I don't.
The idea was that we would go into the classifieds. I think of The Stranger, find a drummer that was looking for a band and a band that was looking for a drummer, and invite both of those people to Annex to perform.
Right.
We would try to set bands up, but the logistics of it was just I think part of it was Brett didn't want people that he didn't know who never played together to play together at Spin the Bottle. That didn't seem like a good idea, which I think makes sense.
We could have started some beautiful relationships that way.
This is what I was thinking, but I think it all works out. And so, Ben, speaking of it all working out, we've worked out another episode of the GudeLaurance podcast.
It's worked out. Yay.
2 segues.
Good talking to you, Paul, and about you at times.
I think that a lot of this show, arguably, it could be said that a lot of the show is talking about me. So I appreciate it, Ben, and I will talk to you next week.
Keep it wrong, Paul.
Yep.
Keep it wrong.